Hello.
Hello, is this Micky?
It is.
How you doing today? This is Dustin from KMSU Radio.
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm excellent. It's great to be speaking with you.
Great. Thanks so much for your time.
Well, I know you are coming to Minneapolis here as part of the Wizard World Comic-Con this weekend, along with Peter Tork. Can you tell us a bit about that? I don't know if you've done many conventions like this over the years, but I know a lot of people around here are really excited to see you guys.
Yeah, I have. Only in the last few years, going back, I don't know, a few years. Hadn't done any before that, and I was pleasantly surprised. I wasn't sure how it would work. I wasn't sure if I'd enjoy it, if it was going to be, if it was going to work out. And because I always thought that they were mainly about comic book characters, but I guess over the years, what's happened is they've expanded their demographic, I guess, a little bit, and now it's more also includes a lot of pop culture, a lot of musicians. I just did one a couple of weeks ago with Gene Simmons, and it's a lot of fun. And I also use it to help support one of my favorite charities, which is Make-A-Wish. So I always give a portion of the proceeds of my merchandise to the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Excellent. Yeah, it's a great chance for the fans to, chat with you and get some photos and maybe sign some memorabilia. And, as you mentioned, part of it goes to Make-A-Wish, so it's a win-win for everybody.
Yep. Yeah, it is. That's a good way to put it. It is a win-win for everybody.
Well, I know you have been part of generations of fans' lives, so it must be a who's who of people coming to these conventions to see you, after 50 years.
Yeah, well, and in our solo show, in my solo show or in a Monkees show, it's very often 3 generations of people. It's crazy. And we had this hit record last year, too.
Well, I know, Micky, when it comes to your career, you were actually an actor and a musician before you got on the Monkees. So, you've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, my first series, I was 10 years old. But even at that time, I had done some screen tests even before Circus Boy. That was the series I had called Circus Boy. And in fact, I'd done some screen tests before that. And I have some prenatal work coming out on ultrasound.
That's quite the run there for sure.
Yeah, right.
Well, I got to ask you, I know the Monkees was such a phenomenon at the time, but was it just maybe another job for you when you signed up? You couldn't have imagined it would be 50 years later we'd still be talking Monkees.
Yeah, I'd already been in the business, like I said, 10 years. My father was in the business, and my mother was an actress singer. They met doing a play, and so I was basically following in my father's footsteps. And I was after... I did Circus Boy. I did that, and then after Circus Boy, I went back to school. I didn't do any more acting. I didn't follow on with it. My parents wisely took me out of the business, and I went back to school, just a normal school kid. And it was after high school that I thought, I better get serious and decide what I'm going to do with my life. And a friend of mine suggested, what? Why don't we go to architectural drafting school and learn to be architects, because we both were into building stuff. And I thought, wow, what a great idea. And I went to Los Angeles Trade Technical College here to study to be a architect. And I was doing it, and then I'd done it for a couple of semesters, and I would do little guest shots on TV shows to make summer money, really. It was like I was going to be an architect, and I figured if I couldn't make it as an architect, I could always fall back on show business. But I was up for shows. I'd go up for TV shows and stuff because I wasn't stupid. I knew the power and of course, and the success of a TV show or a TV series. And I was up for 4 different series that pilot season, and music shows. It was in the air, to try and capitalize on the youth, the culture of the time, and music and rock and roll and folk music and all that stuff.
Sure.
There was 4 different shows I remember I was up for, and but the Monkees was the only one that went that year. And I didn't even quit school, architectural school. When the pilot was done, I just took 10 days off or a week off to do the pilot of the Monkees. But I didn't even quit school because I knew that, 9 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 100, pilots don't sell. They make 20, 30 a year, and maybe 1 or 2 actually get bought. To this day, it's quite typical. So I knew, that the odds were it was not going to sell. Just looking at it, looking at the mathematics of it. So I didn't quit school until the series sold, and we were guaranteed 26 episodes.
Yeah, it's incredible how things turned out from, you're not sure which one's going to be a job even, and then it turns into a career almost.
Well, yeah, so it was, of course, a job in that sense, like I say, following in my father's footsteps. But, you never know when you start something, how it's going to turn out. No one knows. There's no formula. There's no formulas, because if there was a formula, there would never be a flop, So you never know. You just do your best. You surround yourself with talented people, and you work hard, and you do your best, and you just keep your fingers crossed to some degree. When one of the producers once was after the show was, such a big hit, and the music, he was asked, what do you attribute it to? And he says, we just caught lightning in a bottle. And that's typically what happens. There's no formula. You try to avoid certain things, making mistakes and stuff, but you also, I don't think you can reduce it. You can't say that, Star Trek was a hit because of just because of William Shatner, or just because of Leonard Nimoy, or just because of the sets or the writing or the special effects or whatever, the directing. It just doesn't work like that. At a certain point, the way I look at it is that you put all these people together and things together, and all of a sudden the whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts, I guess, and it just takes off, and you're catch lightning in a bottle.
Well, I think the great thing about the Monkees, it was the TV show, but then eventually kind of morphed into the band itself. And I know other shows, maybe the Brady Bunch or Partridge Family had records here and there, but I mean, you guys really had to fight to make that happen and get control of the music side of things.
Yeah, we did. Well, that was mainly Mike and Peter, because they were singer-songwriters. David and I were actors, singers. Mike especially had been hired, because of his, for a great part, because of his music. And when he wasn't allowed to do it, it was like, well, why am I here? He tells a story, a famous story, that he went in the early days when we did not have any control over the music, as you know. He went into the record producers and people and said, I got this song I want to record for the Monkees, and he played it, and they said, no, that's not a Monkee song. And he said, well, wait a minute, I am one of the Monkees. What do you mean? And they said, yeah, no, that's not a Monkee song. Thanks, but no thanks. And so he said, okay, and he went and gave it to this young girl singer who was kicking around Los Angeles at the time, named Linda Ronstadt. And that was the song Different Drum. Her first big hit with the Stone Ponies, written by Michael Nesmith.
Again, you're going to be at the Wizard World Comic-Con here coming up in Minneapolis with Peter Tork. And I know as far as the Monkees go, off and on, you guys have been touring over the years. Is there anything in the works as far as that goes now with the band?
Well, no, Peter and I toured extensively last year. And before that, Mike and Peter and I toured extensively. I still do solo shows. I'll probably be coming around your area doing my solo show. There aren't any immediate plans, monkey plans. But then again, I've learned never to say never.
Sure.
Every time I do, I've just been so blessed to have, been surrounded by so many talented people, and especially the songwriters. I almost dedicate my show to the songwriters, because I had, and still to this day, I have some of the best in the world. I mean, those early Monkee tunes written by Carole King and Jerry Goffin and Neil Diamond and Harry Nilsson and Paul Williams and Carol Bayer Sager, Diane Hildebrand. I mean,
Sure.
just the greatest songwriters.
Well, I think it's great. The career you've had after the Monkees has been wonderful as well. And I got to say, a lot of people my age, they might know you more for, I guess, your voiceover work, doing like Scooby-Doo and Captain Caveman. I kind of I kind of knew you as that guy before I even knew the Monkees as a kid.
Oh, really? That's cool. Yeah, I did a lot. I haven't done so much recently, but I did an awful lot in the 70s and 80s, and it's great fun. I love doing those cartoon shows. They're just so much fun.
Yeah, we had Townsend Coleman on a few years back, and he was telling us what an honor it was for him to work with you on The Tick.
Yeah, that was a great show. That was one of my favorite.
Well, I got to ask you, this is an odd question, but one of my favorite actors, John C. Reilly, and we had him on the show too a while back, and I know you worked with him on that Bag Boy TV pilot. I guess it takes maybe a certain sensibility to get the humor, but do you know if maybe that's ever going to be revisited again?
I have no idea. I was a huge fan of his, and when he asked me to do it, I was honored. But frankly, no, I don't know what the status is on that show.
Well, I guess it goes to show, how versatile your career has been, not only with the music, but, Scooby-Doo and working with Rob Zombie, working with John C. Reilly. I mean, it's basically just a little of everything all across the board.
Well, that's, in this business, you gotta follow the fish. You can't, the fish don't follow you. You gotta, my dad always said, you can't just sit there and wait for the telephone to ring. You have to, go out there and it's one of the toughest things about this business, because I often say to people who want to get into it, I say, well, you better be prepared for some tough times, because it's very unusual in the sense that most businesses, there's a distinction, a separation between you and your product. Obviously, any kind of a retail business, but even things like lawyers and doctors, there's a distinction between you and your service or your product. But in our business, you are the product. I often say it's like you're not only the vacuum cleaner salesman, you're the vacuum. So you and it can be very tough, because you can take things very personally, and when you have to deal with the rejection, it's like if you're selling a vacuum cleaner, and somebody doesn't like the vacuum cleaner, you don't necessarily take it to heart. But when it's you that you're selling and you get rejected, then that can be very, very, very difficult, very tricky.
Well, again, Micky, I know you're going to be coming this weekend to Minneapolis as part of the Wizard World Comic-Con. And is there anything else in the works after that, or something we should be looking out for?
Oh, I always got stuff going on. I will be doing solo shows. Like I say, I probably will be coming to your area. You can just check out my website, MickyDolenz.com, for any concert information. And besides that, I don't have any plans right now to be recording, but we're talking about stuff in the future possibly. And then I do my solo shows, like I say, and I have a furniture business with my daughter, Dolenz and Daughters Fine Furniture. And in fact, she's on her way over here now because we got to fulfill some orders. And that's been wonderful, wonderful fun. So I keep busy.
Excellent. Again, Mr. Dolenz, I'm a huge fan, and it's been great speaking with you today. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.